Hey, welcome to my shop. I thought I would do a video series here of some shorter videos that maybe focus on my process for building furniture. I've been building furniture for quite a while now, and I thought maybe I could just break it down into the steps that I take in order to build furniture and kind of bring a little more detail to each of those steps. And so I thought I'd start off today with the selection of lumber and maybe more so the milling of lumber and cutting our parts and pieces for our projects. The reason I don't want to get too much into selecting lumber is because we all have different resources available depending on where we live and what might be in your area. For me, I have the two big box stores, which are, well, I'll let you make your decision on what those are, but at the very least, they're very expensive. And so I also have another resource in my area that sells hardwood, and you can get it in varying, I guess, finish levels, whether it's rough sawn or S3S or whatever. If you don't know what those are, rough sawn basically is what I have here. It's a board that's it's cut, doesn't have a flat surface or a nice smooth surface. Everything's really rough and really pretty basic. And I can get that in 4/4 or 8/4, 6/4. Just kind of depends on what I want. I typically buy 4/4 or 8/4 for my projects. This is an example of some cherry that I bought. It is 8/4. But I typically buy the rough sawn mainly because I like to mill it right before I use it. As the lumber sits in my shop, it might sit there for weeks or months or maybe even years before it ever gets used. And over time, with temperature and humidity changes, it can warp or twist or do different things. And so it gives me an opportunity to flatten it and make it square and do all those things right before I use it. I've learned over the years that the flatter and square that I can make a board, my joints have tended to become better as I've gotten better at doing that. And so we're going to kind of mainly focus on my milling process. Now when I buy lumber, I usually try to get fairly flat boards. You can see that sometimes you don't get that. There's this piece of cherry. That one you can see has really got quite a twist in it. And that doesn't mean that that's totally unusable. It just means that I'm going to have to mill more of it off in order to make it flat. Or sometimes I might just be cutting thin strips that I can work with, whether they're got a little twist to them or a bow or whatever. But typically I try to buy fairly flat. But if I get a few boards that aren't that, I don't really stress over that. I can always find a use for those. If you look at this piece of walnut that I have on my shelf here, you can see that it is not very flat at all. I've had this piece of walnut in my shop for quite a while, and it's got some pretty grain to it and stuff, and it's going to be usable for something at some point. But right now I'll just hang on to it until I find a nice piece for it. Sometimes I can cut that up into shorter pieces and mill it flat and square. Or like I said, I can cut it into long pieces and plane it down to it's thin enough that you can bend it and move it to what you need it to do. So generally, as I'm grabbing lumber off the stack, like I said, I'm usually pretty quick to do it. I just kind of make sure it's fairly flat. I don't worry too much about knots or checks. I can deal with those in most cases. Unless you're looking for a piece that you need nice straight grain without any knots or stuff like that, then you need to buy more select lumber. But I like the knotty look of different grains. I like the grain patterns. That to me is what kind of brings character and brings the piece alive. And so I am pretty happy and able to work with a lot of those issues and effects. And if you've watched my video on my bathroom cabinet, there's some good examples of me taking some pretty rough lumber and making some beautiful furniture from it. So if you haven't checked that out, you can go ahead and check that out, and I will post a link to that at the end of this video if you'd like to see that one. So let's go ahead and get into the steps of actually milling a board and making a usable part for our project. The first thing I do is I'll cut it to its rough length. Usually I'm about 2 inches longer or so. I will sometimes, if I have a board that's got some checks or cracks in the end of it, and this one does not, it's actually pretty good, I will come in a little farther. Sometimes I'll cut off some of that before I mill it, but other times I can leave it on. That will typically just depend on how long my board is anyway. But usually I'll cut them about 2 inches longer. As far as the width, if I'm doing a glue up, I'll just leave the board as wide as I can, and we'll kind of get into that. The one thing you'll want to think about is whether or not you want sapwood in your project. Sometimes I take the sapwood out, but a lot of times I like to work with it and just make it a design feature of the project. And so that kind of thing doesn't really bother me most of the time. But then I'll choose my boards, for grain selection. And if I'm doing a glue up, I'll try and match up boards that will match together and look pretty good together, as far as color and the grain pattern and stuff like that. So that's just kind of whatever looks nice to you is okay to go with. So I've gone ahead and selected 2 boards here that I'm going to use for a panel in my project that I'm working on. And these will be the bottom. And part of it will be visible in the finished project on each end. And then the center section will not be visible unless you open the doors and stuff. And so I've picked out some grain. It's not some of the prettiest boards that I have as far as grain pattern and stuff, because I'm going to save those for other parts of the project. But these ones will serve my purpose. I'm going to need about 14¼ inches finished. And you can see we're just under 16 inches now. So that gives us enough to do some milling and cut off what we need to. And then they're going to be 6 feet long. And so I'll actually be able to work around this knot. I can cut this off, and we'll be able to close up that gap in our milling process down there. And so we're going to go ahead and cut these in. I'll probably cut these at about 74, 75 inches. Both of these ends here look really good as far as checking and stuff like that. So I'll come in a little bit and then probably go cut them at about 73, 74 inches or whatever, and that should give me what I need. So as you can see, I've marked out some defects and where I'm going to cut my boards, and marked out some parts and pieces. So we'll go ahead and do that. So I generally will just cut those down with my miter saw. With wider boards, sometimes my radial arm saw or just a skill saw will come in handy. I have an 8-inch joiner, so if the board will fit through there, I will use that to plane one face down. And the emphasis is putting the pressure on the outfeed side of the table to help that become flat and straight. And I'll set that to about 1/16 of an inch. With this board, you can see it's a little flatter and it's too wide for my joiner. So I think it was okay to just go ahead and use my planer to flatten that. And I'll just start by running one side through until I get it cleaned up. And then I can flip that over and do the other side. And that gives us a parallel edge to the first face. And then the board that I did on the joiner first, I'll just go ahead and do the other side with the planer as well. So as you can see here now, we have 2 faces that are flat and parallel to each other. And so we'll now take those back over to the jointer and square up an edge. So I've taken and set that board up on edge just to show you how much of a bow there is in there. So I'm going to set my joiner at about 1/8 of an inch to take most of that out, but I'm not going to do that edge. I'm going to start with this edge, and I'll show you why. So the crown on this board is still up. This is the edge that was up against the table that we could see the gap through. If I set this on my joiner bed, you can see as I push that through, it hangs off the edge of the bed here, but as I push it through, it's going to raise that up, being a long board like that, and it's going to kind of affect how straight we can joint that. So I'm actually going to, instead of joining this edge, I'm going to start with this edge, and that way I can place this on the joiner bed, and I'll put pressure down in the middle of the board, and I'll start taking that off in the middle of the board, and that will help us to, we'll have an edge that's up in the air at the leading edge, and then as we push it through, we'll start to cut that down, and then we'll have an edge on the trailing edge that's up in the air. And so we'll be able to kind of start in the middle of that board and take that down until we get a nice straight edge.
And I'll just go ahead and run that through as many times as I need to get that flattened out. And I could decrease the amount that the joiner cuts as I get closer to that straight edge. It's also important to make sure that you hold that up tight to the fence to give you a nice 90-degree edge to the face of the board. And I'll just mark that to keep track of which edge was actually through the jointer. So I'll go ahead and measure a few spots down the board just to see how wide I can cut that board. And then I'll stick that jointed edge up against the fence of the table saw, and that will cut a parallel edge to our jointed edge. If you don't need your board to be that wide, you can just go ahead and cut it to the width that it needs to be at this point as well. And as you can see there, I wasn't quite as narrow as I needed to be, so at this point I could either run that through the jointer again or just bump the fence over at the table saw and trim just a little bit more off, which is typically what I choose to do.
Okay, so now we've run those through our table saw and given us a parallel edge to our edge that we've ran through the joiner. And that's why I marked that with some chalk, is just to make sure I can keep track of that. And so I want to bring these two edges together and see how they look. And I think that looks pretty good. That's going to work very well for our glue up. We're going to be able to clamp that up to make our panel. And we're just over 15 inches still, so we have plenty of width to glue that up and then trim it to size after the glue up. Now we're still just a little bit thicker than we need to be, and I like to bring that down to thickness after the glue up. And I actually have a wide drum sander that I can use that with, use that on a board this wide. If it's a little narrower, you can put it through the planer. Otherwise, I'll just sand that out with, I usually just go with my random orbit sander. A belt sander would work really well for that. I'm usually pretty close that the random orbit with some 80 or 60 grit even does a good job of getting that seam almost invisible. So that is basically how I mill my lumber. So there's our two pieces of walnut that we've milled up and stuff, and gone ahead and glued those together. And I've sanded those with 80 grit, and I've got those ready to use in the project now. As you can see, our seam is almost invisible. The grain selection on these boards, like I said, this is going to be not a panel that's seen a lot in the finished product. You know, and so the grain selection there could be a little bit better. But as far as the seam and the tightness of it, it's all very well together. You know, and so that's kind of my process for milling boards and making a usable panel. So hopefully you've found some benefit in maybe some tips and tricks on how I do things when it comes to milling up my lumber and making it usable for my projects. If you have anything you'd like to add to that, different ways that you've you've done it and tried. I'm always looking for those. Sometimes it's kind of a continual learning process. I like to see what other people are doing and try those things, and also be able to try different things, maybe just for fun, just as a different way of doing things. So if you stayed with me this long, thanks for watching my video. Like I said, we'll hopefully be doing a series of videos to kind of take you through my process of building furniture and what I like to do. Again, please comment below. Questions, anything like that, I'd love to answer those. If you felt like it was worth it and you want to subscribe to my channel, that would be great as well. That really helps me out. I hope to be able to keep bringing more of these videos to you. And again, thanks for watching. We'll catch you on the next one.